we're starting. Neat. Folks, thank you for joining me for the call-in show. Good to see you, Christy Z, Gulf Coast Grit. And I'm back. Great.
Hey,
Hey there.
hello.
Good to have you on.
Thank
I wanted to, first of all, most of the folks watching, I bet, will have also just heard you on the Letter Hack show. That was neat. I dug
Yeah, it
that.
was.
Uh, to fill people in, we've been having a conversation across platforms, essentially. And it started with a discussion about what I'm kind of characterizing as burnout. What do you think? First of all, could you just read thoughts so far on the situation
I will
with
try to
how you're
compile
feeling?
my thoughts into something comprehensive. Um,
Okay.
there's a bunch of different kinds of burnout. There's like caregiver burnout, which is like taking care of somebody until you're just exhausted and on autopilot and kind of corrupts your empathy a little bit.
Mm,
There's compassion fatigue, where you can only care about so many things at a time. So
yeah.
basically, it's almost like just when you have ADHD, because I do, and you overload and you're just stuck. Um, and I don't know if that's just for me or if it's a matter of degrees and how quickly people get to that place. But when you're bombarded, just absolutely bombarded with what dumb thing did Trump do today, or what right or is someone trying to take away today, or what stupid racist nonsense shooting are we dealing with today, um it's tiring. And in
Yeah.
addition to that, our civics classes are garbage. So if we even have them anymore, I don't know, I haven't been to high school in a while. um let's be honest here. So we don't really have the literacy coming out of it, and we have to basically be teachers, and teach ourselves on some sort of curriculum. And anybody who can teach us a little bit is really, helpful. But for the most part, a lot of us are autodidacts, and for people who don't have any sort of um, aptitude toward teaching even themselves, it's hard to navigate. There's not really a roadmap that's automatically there. Um, you have to teach yourself to teach yourself, which is
Yeah.
just another additional skill. So I think this is somewhat co-opted and turned into frustration by politicians at large, but particularly by the GOP. And people are told that's completely normal to dissuade them from voting because they've already said that they don't want people voting.
Yes, I think you are completely correct. And if that's my voice on in the background there, if it's possible, mute me. I can only stand so much of this this Lithuanian. I think first of all your assessment is correct. I think the idea you're going to get a rare one for a second. The idea that the GOP is attempting
Huh?
to essentially throw so much at us that we are left unable to act on any of it is spot on. I also think that this group that's gathered here tonight is in the most danger of all that I'm aware of being burnt out, of being their own worst enemy. I see immediately two ways to handle that, if I may. First of all, the explanation for why I think you guys are the most susceptible to this, because you are the ones who have the however you got there. You have the character of not letting an injustice go just because it doesn't affect you. But that opens you up then to all the injustice of the universe to take care of. And that's a problem because it's not an easy fight. But number one, I think the way you can handle it best is to uh, is to ensure that you are engaged in a long term plan above all else. So if you have a long term plan for generally dealing with categories of things that you want dealt with, uh, you can use that to rest. It doesn't mean only ever pay attention to the long term plan, but it's part of the reason why we focus so much on 2024. It's so that you can know that you can take off Tuesday, for example, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday if you need it, and still know that generally what you're doing is is on an arc towards justice for all. And another thing you can do is make sure that the content you're consuming is intentional. So if you are trying to avoid bumming yourself out, consciously try to avoid it and give yourself, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts in a moment. Give yourself the whatever you'd call it, the pass to enjoy yourself and fully immerse yourself in just relaxing. What are your thoughts on that so far? Ooh, shade, I can't hear you. Let me
Good
let me
again?
pop on the Oh, what are your thoughts on that so far in terms of
Um,
ways to keep your energy up? Having a long-term plan that you know you're following, plus when you are in the short term choosing to take time off, very intentionally taking time off.
very intentionally taking time off. All the things you described are very good advice for people who are neurotypical. It gets a little bit harder if you've got mental health stuff in there or neurodiversity.
There.
I have like the mother of all cases of ADHD. I'm too poor to pay attention.
Ooh,
Let's see.
you at I'm on, let me tell you this. I'm at 15 milligrams.
I am diagnosed but not medicated.
Oh, that sucks.
It really does. I can't afford it. Also, the I can't go to the clinic I'm supposed to go to for my meds because
Mm.
the receptionist didn't like that I was a they instead of a she. So yeah, that happens a lot, surprisingly.
I'm gonna start going by they just out of defiance. Would you do you
Please don't. You
most
need your meds too.
expensive as hell. Second of all, honestly, as a side note, you're ADD. We can do this dance together. You'll know the steps. As a side note, do you think that would be of any use if just the average patient said, "They go f yourself" to the receptionist?
Like maybe? Like I hadn't
All right,
really
F it.
thought about it, but the thing is, a lot more people are they than they would normally admit to, but they don't want the repercussions. Like, for example, some people need medication not just because their brain no do brain things, but to continue breathing because air is good. But if they come out, they could have other repercussions. It's like actually on my California state ID. But for
Mm,
other people, but that's not the way I dress. I don't dress the way I would want to dress because at this point I've had legal repercussions. Like I've been discriminated against in the court of law. And
good God.
I would not want to have that. as a matter of course, just walking around. It's not something I need people approaching me about. So I try to look boring with varying degrees of success. And to be honest, I'm pretty miserable at it. But um,
You're not passing, but you're passing.
ish,
You know,
yes.
fair enough.
But
Well, all right. Oh
regarding
no,
the
continue.
intentionality, as you know, with ADHD, it's a little harder also because it other people's definition of forming habits. A habit is a thing that happens, like, as a matter of course, you don't have to think about it, but if you're ADHD, you have to think about literally everything you're doing. So it, it's it's relax. And to make matters worse, I have PTSD, and my nervous system is basically fried. Um, it's just a thing. We need better health
Ugh,
care.
we do. Yes.
A lot of issues would with burnout and mental health would get a lot better, and people in particular um, need like there's studies that say if you're online a lot, you're more in front of screens a lot, specifically, is what they say. Oh my God, kids are getting so depressed and we don't know why. Maybe it's because they're not getting sunshine. It's like, no, you twit, it's because they're consuming media and they actually know what the fire truck is going on. So,
Yeah.
like, the world is on fire. Like, they may belong to various kinds of groups that get various kinds of discrimination and they're aware of it. They may be understanding, oh, that's why that happened to me, that's why this is happening. Oh God, what do I do? And they realize they're just a tiny little bug speck. So yeah,
Yep.
that tends to be a minor bit depressing. it's it's silly. So like, this is dual prong. Some of it is not inside of people's control at all. And I feel so bad for the younger generation because we got an era where we had maybe two working parents, maybe our parents own homes, maybe we had a stay at home mother, but we had that. Like, they're getting born into a generation where it might not even be common to live indoors.
Mm. Mm. I mean, I suspect that if it gets to that point where it's uncommon to live indoors, uh, the 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 folks who would have to sleep outside are just gonna say, "Nah, take some homes." It's just I think it would come to something worse than camping before it came to mandatory camping. Let me put it like that.
Well,
But I
if I remember correctly, the statistics for LA, 40% of people, of able-bodied adults who live outside, hold down at least one full-time job, and 60% of those who are outside are children.
mm, I mean, I'm not gonna say things are good. They certainly aren't. But I do think that the hardest thing to accomplish in order to make things good finally has been done already, which is awareness. And it's going the debate we're really having now is what path do we take towards
Yeah.
making things better. And the funny thing is, this is gonna maybe hurt to hear a little bit, but MAGA gives me hope.
Okay, I'll hear this.
They ultimately have, when you boil off all the conspiracy nonsense, which includes racism, it's nothing but a conspiracy theory that really caught on. Um, they have the same complaints. They don't like that the ultra wealthy get to live like kings, and we have to gamble for survival. They don't like all the little annoyances of life that are cropping up and becoming less than annoyances and more a threat to our actual existence. It's no longer just unseasonably hot. Now the fields are burning. They might not agree on what the causes are, but they do agree that the problem exists. And 30 years ago, I didn't see that very often. So it tells me, even if those specific people that are diehard MAGA right now, even if they can never be swayed, the fact that there are people out there laying down what is wrong and why it is wrong, tell me that the people that would have become MAGA are reachable. I do think,
Mm,
though, I need you for this one, pretty bad. When as a not neurotypical person, let's say, when you engage in this process and you see X person does show about horrible problem Y and yada yada, where do you find the the exhaustion starts to set in? Is it just repetition? Is it seeing the same thing but not seeing progress with it? Where do you find the exhaustion commonly comes from?
okay. Um, I think it's just being unable to come to terms with the lack of justice and powerlessness that the situation presents one with. There are things you can do, but they're like
True.
microaggressions against bullcrap.
Mm,
That's like the best we can do most of the time. It's like,
some of the time, sure. Yeah.
do we buy there's a brand of water at the gas station on the way to work, which is Nestle, which is evil. Or you can stay home and if you have time, if you don't oversleep, if you have the energy, if there's space in the pitcher, fill up your Brita filter, which also makes waste, just slower. So, like, what? That's the total of choice sometimes, and a lot of the time it just feels like the illusion of choice. So it's
True.
exasperating, and you get that's what it is. I get tired of the frustration, and I've gained a little patience as I get over the age of 30, but heading rapidly towards 4 decades. But it's just, um like I said, it's you get you get frustrated with it eventually. You get it, it's just we seem to be sliding backwards rather than going forwards.
I do think a big help there is to magnify those things that you do. So if you take the time to do the Brita thing instead of the bottled water from Nestle, you can magnify that by number one, doing not every time, but just once, one social media post saying that that's what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the hopes that somebody else will also start doing it because of that. Just hadn't thought about it. Now that's what they do. Another thing you can do is to inform the people who make these decisions as to why you have done this thing, or
Okay.
or even better, make it somebody else's problem. And I think that's usually the best answer. If you're sick
Ooh.
of Nestle selling water, in this case, it's my problem specifically. I'm a Michigander. They got that
Oh.
water from my state's lakes because we let them for free. We
Is
didn't
this a
charge them
malicious
anything.
compliance thing? Ooh, I love chaotic good.
Yes. Yes, literally make it number one. You go to your old pal Jake and say, "What the? Get them out of there. Make this cost them." Number two, you go to your representative and say, "This thing is not something that I want to have as part of my daily calculation. Why is this product allowed to be sold here?" And so on and so forth. But if you've got a case to make, generally, like if something has convinced you that it's a wrong in the world, odds are there is somebody whose job it is to make sure that wrong doesn't exist who's not doing it.
And then you get to the overload, though. What you're talking about when
Yes.
you hit that point is
Yes.
all these things take spoons. Which
Yes.
ones do you prioritize the spoons for? Which is another thing with ADHD that becomes a little bit dicey. Um,
Do,
because you know,
similar question on this vein. Do you play Dungeons and Dragons?
of course, I play Dungeons and Dragons.
I had a feeling. You seem like good people.
Well,
Do you play
Shay,
5th edition?
no, actually, I started at second edition and haven't played since 3.5.
Oh, so you stopped when it was peak, if we're being honest. Well, you just gotta look. You're a wizard. You're a cleric. You've got a certain number of spell slots. So
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
deal with if once you've written your representative in a week, that's your spell slot. You've used it. And don't be sad that you used it well if you feel that you did. So I think once you've done something, not about everything, but about anything, then
Okay.
you decide how much time you need after that to recharge your spell slot, to get new spoons. And maybe it's not always the same, but the and when we were talking about lifestyle, this is what I was kind of getting at. You can answer the question, what have I done lately? And if you find that you can answer that question to your own satisfaction, whether lately is a month, a week, a day, an hour, it doesn't matter, then you're good. And if you can answer that question, um, that's the time to do soul searching and to feel bad and let all the negative feelings in. But if you've done something about anything lately, I think you're gold.
Wow, you are hitting all of the issues that therapists love to point out to me. I don't tend to give myself credit for the things I actually do, and then I wind up reasoning with myself, well, it's so small.
That's look, that's absolutely fair. I'll tell you what. I'm not sure how much gold I have at any given moment. I feel like we hit a high note. Let's let's keep the conversation going, but in other formats and return to it as you please as we have new thoughts. I'd love to hear what Wireless Mike is up to.
Alrighty.
All right, my
Thank
friend.
you
Thanks
so
for
much for
calling
having
in.
me.
My pleasure. I'll see you around.
Bye bye.
Bye. That was Shade Dragon, continuing a conversation that we've been having on and off for a while, and we're probably going to keep it going and just make it part of the show. Not putting you on the spot, Shade. I'm just this is a topic that is of the utmost importance, I think, to this community. Speaking of the community, we've had an incredibly patient gentleman waiting on the line, and I want to talk to him. Wireless Mike, how are you? Assuming you are present. I actually should have probably checked in with that. Are you there, Wireless Mike? Ooh, oh, well, that's on me. Uh, Wireless Mike, if you return, let me know in the private chat in Restream, and I'll turn you on. In fact, is this not cool? I'm just gonna turn you on, but will I mute you? I don't know. But I'll turn on the audience chat because this is a cool thing I can do. There we go. Turning on the audience chat here. New comments will display here, and I'll read the ones that are that are currently up. My dogs are goth. I'm high as, and I keep getting distracted from this. Wait, you're going to turn on Mike? I like. Listen, if I ever manage to turn anyone on intentionally, I'm gonna write it in my diary. Uh, oh, wireless mic. I'm still on the line. Okay. I can't hear you. Maybe try your hmm. Oh, here we go. Click on the gear, yeah, the settings there, and make sure the correct mic is up because I don't hear you. Um, going back up ever so quickly. Ooh, Styx Dragon. Sorry for the giggling in the background. Not at all. That was a hoot. Oh, Groove Dragon. Your kind words have been uplifting to me several times, and this is another. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Excuse me, they're an angel. So is Styx Dragon. Groove Dragon also saying Jimi Hendrix said, "You got to tell the children the truth. They don't need a whole lot of lies. Best love to have is the love of life. I suggest clinging to the love of life like a lifeboat." Beautiful. I love it. Styx Dragon, fear me. I am the forever DM. Wireless mic. Let's just see real quick. Let me try to figure this out for a second. Wow, how about this? Can you read this in the private chat? Can you read this? That'll let us know if we are actually connected or if it's just telling us separately. Okay, so we're able to communicate. I'm reading that private chat now. Is your mic not working? Like, do you see the green bar bouncing when you're talking into it? And the purpose of the call-in show, folks, is just to hang out. We don't have to worry about every little thing. I see the green bouncing. Uh-oh. Tell you what, I'm gonna kick you out and then call back in. I think what's happened. Everything says I'm not muted. God dang. Yeah. Call back in, please. Even though I have now removed you, but we'll just turn it on again. I think it's literally the old IT crowd issue. Shade Dragon is actually a D&D reference. I'm referring to Shadowfell. I often feel like we're kind of in the upside down. Hey, all right. And here is wireless mic. Oh, nope, that's Bob. Excuse me, Bob. We're going over to wireless mic. I apologize. Wireless mic. I'm not connecting at all. Oh no. Dude, I don't know what you are doing, or what rather, I don't know how you could be doing anything wrong. You're doing everything correct. I think we're having a rough internet night on my end because it's got to go through my streaming service in order to connect. Do try. I broke your show. Do try hitting the gear again, and F it, Bob. We're gonna turn you on as well. I invite both of you gentlemen to try to make some noise, as they say. Except I'm being quite literal. I hear somebody. It's Bob. All right, wireless mic. If you are able to join the conversation, I invite you to. Bob, how you doing?
All right, you can hear me?
I can. Yes.
Oh wow.
What did you want to talk about? It's dealer's choice.
Uh, Not really. Nothing.
All right, I can throw something your way. What are you
Go ahead.
interested? What did you watch the show previous to the call in?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What when you were hearing about that? Oh, let's just start with the fun one. Lauren Boebert. Does it surprise you at all that she got kicked out for vaping?
No, she's a Karen.
Yeah, yeah. I would have been more surprised if the headline had been Lauren Boebert attends film, acts perfectly politely. Oi. All right.
Of
So
her vape.
when it came to the capitalism video, was there anything there that you disagreed with, or anything you hadn't thought about? You were intrigued by?
It was very interesting. It, it's pretty much what I knew about capitalism.
Yeah, I generally felt the same way. Although I will say it made me pleased that he was approaching it from the angle of not so much what do we replace it with, but what do we choose to replace. Um,
I don't see what we're gonna replace it with.
yeah, and that's the issue is I don't think we need to guess. I think we need to just start doing the work of replacing it, and if as we find more and more efficient systems, apply them, but decide based on the needs that need fulfilling rather than an idyllic view of what we think will happen.
I
What
feel like we're in too deep.
what part of the country do you live in?
Right now, I live in Mexico.
You live in Mexico. What? Give me the
Uh,
overview. What's Mexico like as a
it's
citizen, person that lives there?
it's beautiful. It's just don't go around the border.
Oh, so it's rough near the border.
It's only because of the U.S.
Mm, mm.
Um, they live off the U.S.
Is there in your area, is there a lot of tourism? And also, I just realized, why did you move to Mexico? Are you from there? Are you an immigrant?
No, I'm from Louisiana,
Oh, wow. Okay.
but
What brought you to
I've been here
Mexico?
about 10 years. Just got away from the U.S.
That's fair. And do you find what's the difference for you like in terms of how you're living? How's just
uh,
life?
it's much better. I just feel like people are so much better, nicer.
Oh, that hurts, but it's also what I thought.
Uh,
I'm glad they're nicer somewhere. By God, I've been deeply sad otherwise.
yeah, it's it's not. But they just passed the abortion bill. It made abortion legal throughout the whole country.
How
We've
pay
beaten
it?
y'all.
Are you paying attention? We're falling behind. Oh, I feel like we're
Yeah,
not only falling behind, we have people on our team that are running in the wrong direction. Oh,
yeah.
how difficult was it to move to Mexico? Related note.
It's a lot cheaper too.
Mm. What, like, in
Um,
terms of paperwork, was it a giant big ordeal, or was it like one stack of forms and
no,
you're done?
no, not too much. You're a tourist for a while, but you apply for the paperwork and get. It's not as hard as you think.
Mm.
It takes a while, but it's not as hard. And it costs money.
Really? Yeah, I guess it would have to. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Oh, I'm seeing Shade Dragon there. Expat, a lot of people, especially not white people, have formed Facebook groups and networks to get each other out of the US. I found them last year. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't you have to live your life at some point. And I feel like correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like there's a decision that happens in everybody's life where they decide at some point
Ow.
it's time to start living. And one second, I'm writing Mike. There we go. It's time to start living, and I can't wait for other people to allow me to enjoy my life. Does that seem right to you?
Yes, I agree.
And it also sounds like we have another person present. Is this a furry person, and can you describe them for our own enjoyment?
My cat needs biting the hell out of me.
Ooh,
He wants to play, I guess.
do you uh, train your cat with commands in English or Spanish?
I guess both.
So he understands "God damn it, cat" and "God damn it, gato."
Yes.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what, Bob. I think the issue with wireless mic being unable to connect is on my end, and thus does not bode well for my ability to continue the stream. I'm gonna close it down, but I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in, man.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one. Folks, and Mike, I'm sorry, man. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Because I don't think there's anything you can do. Because I think this is my computer. I'm also getting a ton of error messages on YouTube, so I hope you're able to hear us. And I will say I had a blast with this particular call-in show. It was a short one, but it was a fun one. Mike, I'll email you later with a. First of all, I'm sorry. It's of all, I do need to give you. Oh, let's wait a minute. This might bode well. Can you try saying something?
You talking to me?
Ah,
Oh,
yes.
it
Look
worked.
at that.
Okay, cool. I
Bam.
don't know what the hell that
Well,
was.
good to have you. I have no idea. It's been what's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. I almost forgot what the hell I wanted to say.
Welcome to me every night.
Yeah, right.
What do you have it?
Well, I on Shade's topic, there's so much about burnout. There's so many reasons for people to burn out. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm thinking, I understand where a lot of people feel burned out because they feel like the more they see in the news, the more they read, the more they hear people talking on radio or blogs or podcasts or whatever, they're hearing just constant negativity because negativity is what sells. And it's what gets the most attention from advertisers. It gets the most views because people seem to enjoy it in just this really twisted obsession with just depression and bad and things are going wrong. It's almost like there's a part of people who want things to go catastrophically wrong so that everything can just start over. And that's
Let me throw a tweak your way.
What's that?
I don't think it's that negativity reliably. Well, let me try this again. I think I would tweak it to say that reality doesn't always sell, and that's where the problem is. Because I immediately think of that show. What did Jim from The Office do? He had like Good News as a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the big issue that people had with that was that it was niceness for sale, but it wasn't reality, and it distracted from negative things that really were happening.
Yeah, that and the fact that he sold it for God knows how much and walked away immediately as soon as it got popular. But
yeah,
I would agree that truth and reality doesn't really sell, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going through all of this insanity with aliens here lately, and it's constantly still in the news. And but I'm not even going to go there. I kind of want people to try to keep in mind, because I'm a pessimistic optimist. I guess you could simply call that a realist, but even that is just made a little too simple. You have to have a certain amount of optimism, and what's a good way to put this? Let's take all the bad news that seems to be coming in the polls that the news keeps talking about all the time. Negative polls, negative polling for Biden and Democrats and all of this. I personally have never taken part in a poll.
Same.
And most people that I know have not taken part in polls. They don't participate online. They don't answer questions to people that they don't know on the phone that call them asking to participate in polls. When I was on Facebook, I had a lot of friends on there who like to take the little polling games and questionnaires where they, tell you what magic school of magic you're in, or what school you would be in the Harry Potter school or something like that. What's your Pokemon or something. I never did any of that stuff, and most of the people that I noticed who did, it would forward to me. Most of the people that participated in that, as years went along, and as Trump became a candidate and then won, the ones that participated in those the most tended to be the ones that were most in favor of him. And when I see polls lately, all I can picture is these are the same people who so boisterously want to boast how much they support his horrible, I'm trying to edit myself, I don't want to be vulgar, the horrible nature of humankind. They want to loudly proclaim just what horrible, hateful, fearful, angry people they are, and they want to make other people believe that everybody believes that. And I wouldn't put it past one person to take part in as many polls as they could to try to sway those polls to reflect their views, but that doesn't reflect what most working people who have a life and a job and a family and pets and hobbies and other interests feel or believe, because most people aren't voicing that opinion. They keep it to themselves because they don't want to start fights. They don't want to ostracize people. They don't want to make other people uncomfortable around them or be a downer. When they do show their real feelings, they do it at the real polls that matter, when they're standing in front of a voting machine.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for protests. I'm all for gatherings and people getting out there and voicing their displeasure with government and with billionaires basically trying to buy everything and turn all of us into commodities. But at the same time, most of us don't have time for that. Most of us don't have the energy for that.
Yeah.
So I never really trust polls, at least not until we get, within a couple of months of the actual election. Then you can start getting a pretty decent idea from the polls, because more people are going to be participating. They're actually paying attention more at that time. But between now and, I'm going to say, probably this time next year, I wouldn't pay attention to the polls, and I wouldn't pay attention to so much of the negativity that the news agencies are trying to reflect as opinions of the people, because they're very strongly skewed by the loudest, most obnoxious people in the country right now. And the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's why we hear it all the time.
When it comes to those people who are the loudest and most obnoxious, and as you say, or in your assessment, are trying to make it seem like everybody is that way, why do you think they're trying to make it seem like everybody is that way?
I think they want to feel right. They want people. Misery loves company, I guess. It's like
Maybe,
they don't want to be alone in their anger. That's why they seek out these groups. That's why they seek out the kind of channels that spew the kind of hate, like Steven Crowder and Charlie Kirk and all these morons who spew hate. They seek that out. They want that. That's why so many people still tune into Fox News, because they're portraying the things that they can't voice themselves to enough people. And so they tune into. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, if they're right, also, it's just an interesting point that you're making. And if they're right, then they don't have to change, and that's easier. Also.
Yeah. They don't have to try. They get to sit back and watch the world burn and say, "I told you so." But that's not reality either. Most people are out working.
Yeah. I think what they are addressing with racism or bigotry of any sort is ultimately, funny enough, kind of what we're trying to do here, which is they're trying to find a way to change that which they don't like about reality, that will be fun for them to do. And if what's wrong with reality is that your glorious whatever cloth you're made out of is the correct one, then you get to fight for things to be better while also patting yourself on the back. So I think maybe part of the answer is making the process that we're doing now into one that is appealing in terms of entertainment value. Maybe not, a top hat and dancing, but make it feel good to change things as the work is getting done.
Yes and no. There's always going to be a large population or percentage of the population who don't want anything to do with that until it's time to vote. Until it's time for them to do what is their civic duty and their responsibility. Until then, their life is full of responsibilities. And what most people want when they're not working is just to relax and enjoy themselves. And unless you're the type of person who enjoys exploring, you know, stuff like educational information. If you're into, you know, documentaries and learning new things, you're more likely to do that. But the vast majority of viewership out there, what's the most popular thing on TV? Reality TV shows. It's people doing the worst things, acting in a way they would never otherwise act in public if there wasn't a damn camera shoved in their face.
Yeah.
And that's what sells. That's what gets all the attention, because it's a break from the monotony of everyday life. And what you're doing, and what like the Majority Report and so many other good leftist channels, what you're doing, you're educating people, you're keeping them informed, but people have to be interested to absorb it, because it's hard to keep up with, you know, and you have to have a certain amount of genuine curiosity, intellectual curiosity, to even give a crap about any of it.
First of all, yes. Second of all, when somebody like you is experiencing, well, let me ask, do you feel burnout ever with this stuff?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, I have come so close to just smashing my phone whenever I read or hear some just insane garbage that has no business even being said, but that's free speech, right? But the fact that it's published and repeated and shared on all these different social media platforms, and then, you know, you've got other people talking about it, and then you got people on YouTube. Like I saw this thing just the other day or last week. There's some new video game that came out called Starfield. It's a big Bethesda game. And there was this, apparently, I don't know how he's popular, but some British gamer who was streaming his first playthrough live. And it gets to a part where one of the characters says something about being a clone of a man, but the character is female. And this guy, pardon my language, went absolutely apeshit. Lost his shit on camera and starts going on this bloodshot-eyed just rant, screaming at the camera about pronouns, and then he starts calling every female character on there a cow and every other thing else you could think of. He's losing his mind over it, and it wasn't bad enough that he did this to his viewers and that people were talking about it, but it got written about in different magazines, different online publications. Then you had other individuals on YouTube playing it back and discussing it and talking about it, and which is fine. They're pointing out, you know, where he's obviously wrong and unhinged, but it's further sharing it. It's spreading it out even more, where people who would have never heard of it, all of a sudden there's 10,000 other people who saw and heard it and are, you know, talking about it to their friends. Yeah. It's the proliferation, excuse me, I'm having trouble talking right now, of negativity. And
did you, when you came across that, did you feel the burnout? Were you like, oh, I can't hear this again. I can't hear about this story again.
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, I've only seen it a couple of times, but every time I saw, like, I saw one video where somebody was talking about it, and they were playing his video back and then commenting on it. And then in the suggestions to the side, I saw more videos with his frothy mouth, bloodshot face. And it's like, okay, well, here's 3 more videos that are doing exactly the same thing. So that's however many of their viewers who otherwise would probably wouldn't even know who this jackhole is. But now they do. And now they're talking about him, and he's getting all kinds of attention. And you and I both know, man, any attention, any publicity is good publicity when it comes to that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter how bad it is. The more it's spread, that's publicity. That's an opportunity for somebody to spread and make money.
Particularly when it's an algorithm deciding whether or not something's popular.
Absolutely.
So how do you deal with burnout?
I have to shut off. I'm lucky enough that I have a very good dog, and he's doing much better now. By the way, he was hurting the last time I talked to you.
Yeah.
I have a good dog. That helps a lot because, the more people I meet, the more I like my dog. And if it weren't for him, I would probably be a complete asshole to most people. But when you got a living creature that offers you unconditional love and is happy to see you every single time you walk in the door, that, if that doesn't make you smile, you have no heart, you have no soul, and, probably need some serious therapy.
I was gonna ask if you would think that would work for other people, but I can answer that. Yes. By
Oh,
God, get a dog.
as long as if you have a heart, yes. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there who don't. I mean, you look at Donald Trump. He talks about dogs like he's never had one. I can't trust people who don't at least enjoy animals. You don't have to own one. You don't have to have a pet. But if you can't get some pleasure or enjoyment out of seeing or watching an animal do what they do,
Yeah.
there is something broken inside you that's probably not going to be fixed. I hate
For
to
some
say that.
reason, I feel like Donald Trump is the perfect example of what politicians were trying to pretend like they aren't. Like all these famous White House dogs or pets or whatever,
Yeah.
they're trying so hard to convince us. Like, see, I can love a thing. What is this thing's name? Socks. I love socks.
Oh no, I think I know Obama. They love their dogs.
Oh,
I
I'm
know
sure.
I know Biden loves his dogs. You can tell when someone truly loves their animals.
Oh yeah, and all I don't take me too literally. The president of Ireland clearly loves his dogs,
Right.
but I just feel like Trump is in reality what we always suspected these callous SOBs were like, and
I
it's funny to watch him like go through the motions and occasionally try to put on human skin and
yeah.
watch his difficulty with it.
I saw a documentary a while back. I can't remember what it was called, but it was specifically talking about movies through the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s, and writers and crafting of characters. And they went on about how so many people who were writers and producers and directors in Hollywood, they knew Trump because Trump was constantly trying to get in with the in crowd, with popular people, famous people. He wanted everybody to know his name. He wanted to get into movies and acting so bad that he practically hounded people to put him in their movies or their projects. And this documentary basically explained and gave examples of how almost all of the movie baddies or villains that you saw throughout the 80s and 90s into the 2000s were basically roughly based specifically on him. His
Let me
look.
rattle off a few. King Koopa.
Uh, yeah.
The villain
Yes.
from the Living Daylights.
Yes. Yes.
It's
They
insane.
basically they roughly wrote Donald Trump and then just casted someone to play them. And even the actors who played these characters were basically like, oh, well, this is kind of who I based it on, because he literally epitomizes all the vile, disgusting, just putrid and greedy hate and disdain for little regular people that is depicted in all the movies. He's the archetypical villain for just about any story. And I found that to be not only fitting but kind of depressing, that even before he became who he is now, he still influenced art and creativity to such a drastic effect for that many years ahead of time.
And we got so many warnings.
Oh yeah.
We had Batman punching him out on screen, and
Yeah.
we couldn't figure it out. It's
Exactly.
maddening. Well, man,
It's,
I'll tell you, in this general loose conversation about burnout, I think probably for me the most important thing is to see progress. And when it comes to Trump, at the very least, number one, on that mother in particular, Boy, is there progress.
Oh, yes. Finally.
There, once upon a time, this group that was chatting was debating whether or not he ever would be indicted at all.
Oh, yeah.
And how far we've come.
Karma
Thing number 2.
came off of vacation and got back to work with a vengeance.
Oh my God, yes. And second, on the larger scale, this gives me hope that we are making progress in terms of holding our leaders to account more seriously, more often, and upgrading from that old thing we used to do, which was never, ever, ever.
Exactly. I would like to share one thing, and then I won't take up any more of your time, man, because I know I'm sure there's other people that want to talk, and I tend to go on. But I want to share this. Back when everybody, even I, was saying there's no way that he's ever going to be elected. He's too much of a clown. He's a buffoon. He's not a serious person. No one's ever going to vote for this jackass. And of course, it did. And it was depressing and it was soul crushing. And it honestly felt like somebody had switched on some quantum device and swapped realities with everybody. But at one point, when it started getting really depressing, and just in the first few months of his presidency, when he had done so much damage already to so many different departments, like EPA and regulatory, and cut all of these regulations, like these massive stacks of regulations that it took decades to get up and going, and he's just like, nope, gone, erase the website, all gone. It started getting depressing. And it was my mom who finally kind of broke it through to me. And she said, for years, for decades, politics, Washington, these politicians have been working on this for decades, and they just got what they wanted. What you have to keep in mind is it has gotten so bad for so long that it became inevitable that it would take some low-life piece of shit like Donald Trump to break it. When they finally get what they want, it took somebody like to expose it, but make it that much worse where it was undeniable. And I can't help but think she was right, because he has absolutely done that. The one thing that I will attribute to him, you have these people, can you think of one good thing to say about Trump? Yes, I'll say this. He has exposed the Republican Party for the vile, disgusting creatures that they are, and more people are paying attention now than they have in the last 50 fucking years. Sorry for the F-bomb.
Appropriate.
More people are paying attention, and that's why I don't sweat these polls. I don't sweat all the stupid opinion pieces. I don't think they're going to sway enough people for that jackass to ever see the office again, even if he doesn't get prevented from being on the ticket. My concern is somebody who's as bad, who's just better at it.
Yeah, my concern is that we overestimate how much learned. I hope we are able. In fact, I think we're going to have the responsibility between now and 2024 of drawing the connections to say that this is not just Donald Trump. This is what Donald Trump was allowed to do, and why was he allowed to do it?
Exactly.
What behavior was he aping that he did a poor job of? To be continued, my friend. And I'm just about out of steam as well, so wrap it up. And I think your mom's a wise woman, for the record.
Oh, she is. And thank God I had her in my life, because otherwise I'm a default Republican who grew up around a bunch of right-wingers and conservatives. And I shudder to think what I would be had I not had her influence whispering in my ear every now and then, hey, stop being such an asshole. Open up and pay attention to people.
Superman needed Martha as well.
Yeah, right.
The goodness comes from somewhere. Well, good on you. Good on Mrs. Mike and I will see you on the next show.
Have a great night, everybody. Thanks,
You
Jay.
will. See ya. That was awesome. I'm so glad it ended up working. Oh. All right, folks. Uh Oh, let me catch up on those comments before we scootaloo. What are we talking about with demonetized? Uh, bup, 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 bup. I assume we are. I didn't even know if I turned it on for this. Regression is a Trumpian trait. Oh, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah. Shade Dragon. Plus, it's bitten a ton of people. If he didn't love it, he would have had it put down already. Talking about the German Shepherd. Yeah, I came down too hard on Biden and all other politicians. I'm more okay with Biden than Trump because Joe Biden, is a shade dragon, is redeemed by a bare minimum of pro-social tendencies, period. Yeah, that makes my decision for me. Wholeheartedly agreed. Let's go to Shade Dragon. But will he see jail? And will we see him with no spray tan, no head merkin? No comb over, no hairspray, no girdle, no fancy heels, no special oversized suit. You know what? I used to think no. I used to think he would not actually physically go into a jail. I have changed on that. I think he will now. Um it's the Republicans have ruined, in my opinion, any chance Trump had, and Trump ruined any chance Trump had of not seeing the inside of a cell. Because if he would have played the game, and if they would have played the game, and if they would have been quiet about this stuff, then he quietly would have had his crimes acknowledged, and they quietly would have issued him a nonsense punishment. But the problem is, he's choosing to fight the whole way. They are at a point where they have to acknowledge that he has committed a crime. We cannot continue existing as a society if they don't do that. And because they have to acknowledge it, and he's making this a very public, very ugly fight, that means you and me are going to be looking at what they do about it. So especially as we are becoming a political force in the United States, the theys at work here are going to just have no choice, I suspect, but to acknowledge the severity of what he did and treat it appropriately. That said, I failed to be disappointed by how little respect Democrats have for progressives and the justice system has for anybody who even slightly appears to be on the left. Just lately, the problem they are in Mein Kampf fever dream. Yes. Shade Dragon, the head merkin comment was made utterly worth it by that reaction. All right, okay, good. It was a solid gag. Good night. My dogs are goth. Good night, Wireless Mike. Good night, Wicked Foxy Dragon. Good night, Just Lately. I know not all of you said you're going, but I am. Ha ha! It was a genuinely a fun stream. But I'm going to rest my pipes. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you for joining.